Last Rites. My mother leans across the bed and tucks my feet under the blanket. As she pulls it up over my shoulders, I reach out to her with my free hand. Thank you. Save it for the doctor. No. I squeeze her arm. I'll never be able to repay you for everything you've done. Her lips tighten. I think I've had just about enough of your payback. My throat burns as I swallow. You're right. I've had to deal with more than your share. I know you've been hurting for a long time, son, but that doesn't excuse any of what you've done. Suddenly furious, she says, if you weren't in that bed right now, I'd... Stammering, she turns her back on me. I've defended you for years. Do you know that? Every time someone tells me how you've acted like a fool, how you've treated them, I've said deep down, you're still that good little boy I used to know. She looks over her shoulder at me, but now I'm certain there's nothing left of him. Her words hurt, as the truth often does. She wheels around. Why won't you come home to us, Polly? Where have you gone that's so great you won't come back? I'm right here. Sometimes I wonder if you'd been the one. She catches herself mid-thought, killing the sentence. I think I know where she was headed. It's the unspoken question we've all been asking ourselves ever since I came home, and Chris did not. Backing away, she sits in the chair beside my bed. After a moment of pregnant silence, I say, I can't bring him back. My mother watches me with frightened eyes. I wish I could. You have no idea how much, but it's impossible. Dwelling on his death is killing us. She begins to cry. Come here. She leans forward, and I reach out to her again. All we can do now is try to live. That's what he'd want. Oh, Paulie. I brush away her tears. No matter how big I get, you'll always be my mom. After another long moment, I finally ask the question I've been dreading the answer to. Where are Amaya and Noah? My mother's voice is almost inaudible. They're packing for their trip back to California. My voice squeezes past the lump in my throat. They're not coming? Why would they? She asks, frowning. And your sister isn't sure if she ever wants to speak with you again. You've hurt them all enough. I know, Mom. Don't you think I know that? I plead with her. Tell them I want to see them. Can you just ask them to come? Please. You're my reasons for living, and if I lose you, it'll be my fault again. She leans close, so close. In a clear and steady voice, she asks, Did you take that money? No. Look me dead in the eye and say it. Full attention on her, I repeat myself. No. No what? I didn't take that money. Lord knows I'm guilty of a lot of things, but stealing is not one of them. She nods, quietly making up her mind. Surprised she felt the need to ask, I add, You raised me better than that. You sure did. The doctor has returned. She looks at my chart. Comparing the recorded data with my current vitals, she nods at my mother and me. You got a pretty decent concussion and severe hypothermia. It looks like you managed to avoid a traumatic brain injury, but... She looks over her shoulder at the police officer still standing guard. I want to keep you another night or two for observation. I can't afford a hospital stay. The doctor makes a sour face. Oh, pish. My mother says, Paul, this is Vanessa. She's the one you need to thank for saving your life. Seriously, doctor, Can I see my chart? She squints. You're a decorated naval corpsman, right? Yeah, I say, a little embarrassed. How do you know? She hands me the clipboard, saying, You'll find I know a lot about you. Ignoring her enigmatic response, I focus my attention on the chart. Things really have been touch and go, especially last night. My vital signs were slowed by both the hypothermia and my toxicological chemistry. It might have helped me in the water, but it certainly didn't do me any favors once I was out. Between the lines, I can read just how close I've come to dying, and how far along I am, thanks to the effort of the hospital staff. I glance quickly at my mother, afraid of what my question might invoke. How's my father? The doctor says Dad's stable, but he's still in ICU. Dad? I take another glance at the clipboard, and the pieces fall together. This is Dr. Vanessa Squall, my father's daughter from his second marriage. She laughs at my shock. Aw, it's a lot to take in. I get that. Do you need a moment? My mother's reaction is the next great surprise. I expect her to be uncomfortable or angry, but instead, she has warmth in her eyes when she gazes at my half-sister. It's okay. It's about time we finally got acquainted. I laugh. Families are supposed to come together during crisis, right? I'm glad you see it that way, and I hope you'll remember that when you talk to Daniel. Vanessa makes notes on the clipboard, nonchalantly adding, He heard what you're going through back in San Diego and wants to help. He's just waiting for your call. I stare at her incredulously. Ask him to do what? She clears her throat, as though she's about to explain the facts of life to me. Pursing her lips and putting away my chart, she casts another glance at the cop in the hall. We can talk more later. I can't believe how much she's done for me, despite the distance between us. I stare up at her and remember how tender she'd been with me when she found me crying. She owes me nothing, and I owe her everything. Thank you, Vanessa. She shrugs. No sweat. And I'm sorry about Dad. If I hadn't come banging on his door last night, he'd be having Christmas dinner right now. Smacking her lips, she says, True. You two have a lot you need to work through, but you also saved his life. My mother hugs my half-sister and walks with her into the hall. The spectacle astonishes me. Maybe there's hope for us yet. I fall asleep not long after they leave, but am awakened by the sound of arguing voices. I'm surprised to see Jen and Tom in the hall. I'd assumed they'd be on their honeymoon, but I guess it makes sense they wouldn't fly out on Christmas Day. Jen looks at me with angry eyes and hisses with insistent whispers. Realizing they've been spotted by me, they reluctantly come inside. I hold up my free hand in a sign of peace. Jen, Tom, before you say anything, I just want you to know how sorry I am. Jen scoffs. Sorry is not going to cut it this time, Buster. I know I can never take back what I did. It was inexcusable, and I can only imagine how much I've hurt both of you. Jen crosses her arms and taps her foot. Do you want me to enumerate? No, I say. Let me. Because I'm not just apologizing for how much I hurt you last night, Jen. I mean in the woods, when we were kids, searching for old Mr. Green, and when you wanted to spread your wings your last year of high school, and I made you feel guilty about it. when you drove me to the airport after Thanksgiving, the year I got back, and tried everything you could to get me to come home. For all that, and more, I'm truly sorry. Tom watches his new wife for a cue. She blinks hard and stares at me. The truth is, I was afraid to walk you down that aisle because I thought everyone would see me as the fraud I've been for so many years. You lost 2 brothers the day Chris died, and I could have and should have been there for you. Jen blinks again, this time adding in a quick shake of the head. Tom says, I don't think you realize just how much you hurt both of us. Jen puts her hand across her new husband's mouth. Shut up. She takes a step forward, asking, How hard did you hit your head? Pretty hard, actually, and I'm not looking for pity here, but I'm not doing so hot. Still, despite everything, I've never felt better in my life. My sister shakes her head in disbelief. Tom, I realize this is coming too late, and frankly, you don't need to hear this from me, but I want you to know I give you my blessing. I'm honored to have you as my brother-in-law. Tom's expression makes me laugh. Even my mother, who has reappeared in the doorway, is staring at me. Just what did you ask for in your letter to Santa? My son answers from the hall. An iPad. I'm filled with such love after hearing his little voice. I cry out to him, Noah. He bursts into the room, leaping into the bed right beside me. Merry Christmas, Daddy. Jen is hard on his heels, knowing what my reaction is sure to be. Noah, you can't just jump up there like that. Oh, he's okay, I say, surprising my sister yet again. I missed my buddy, and I want to hear all about what you got from Santa Claus. Without missing a beat, Noah asks me, Why are you handcuffed to the bed? I laugh so hard I fall into a coughing fit that leaves me red-faced and gasping. Scruffing Noah's hair, I say, How was your Christmas? Bad. Mom keeps trying to tell me hospital food is better than Grandma's cinnamon rolls. Eyes wide, I turn to my mother. Amaya's here? She looks down at her hands. She won't see you. I tried. Feeling rage boiling within me, I take stock. Giving in to this will mean backsliding from the progress I've already begun to make. Amaya has every reason to be angry. I don't. So I take a few deep breaths and let this moment pass. Jen's voice brings me back. So, what's going on? Why are you handcuffed to the bed? My mother interrupts. They say he stole some money, but that's all I can get out of them. I had no choice but to go through Paul's phone trying to get answers. My heart stops. But I guess it broke in the accident. My distress morphs into sweet relief, which in turn becomes mournful reproach of the idiotic and blind path I've been so thoughtlessly embarking upon these last few days. I walk the very fine line before betraying the most important person in my life, and I'm overwhelmed by the tenderness I feel for Amaya at this moment. How could I have gotten so close to throwing away all we've sacrificed to share? I think I might know what's going on, says Tom, and we turn to him in anticipation. Maybe. Paul was doing a lot of ranting at the reception. He kept saying, My boss set me up. My boss set me up. I thought he was talking nonsense, but everyone waits for me to answer. It's pretty much the gist of it. I found a deposit bag. Boss said she'd forgotten it and asked me to bring it to her. They have me on camera leaving with it, and I have no way of proving I didn't take it. That bitch, says Jen, causing her nephew to gasp. She apologizes and then asks me, Have you called Daniel yet? Daniel? Oh, Vanessa's brother. Our brother, she corrects. How does he figure into all this? Well, you know how we always said father wanted his kids to be doctors and lawyers? Yeah. Vanessa's a doctor. Guess what Daniel is? A lawyer? And he passed the California bar. Jen smiles, shrugging at the magic of life. He wants to help you. I don't know if there's anyone that can actually help me. And yet, it's as though the millstone pulling me down has been cut loose. Noah nods. You never know who will help if you're strong enough to ask. Something about what my son said brings back the memory of a dream I once had. It hovers in my mind, just out of reach.